ladies and gentlemen present here. What does writing on cinema entail? Especially in the year when we celebrate the centenary of Indian cinema. This panel explores these very questions. I wish to introduce all the panelists on the dais. Bharadwaj Ranjan is a national award-winning film critic, currently deputy editor at The Hindu. His writings on cinema, music, art, books, travel, and humor have been published in various national magazines. He is the author of Conversations with Mani Ratnam, Mani Ratnam, which has been published by Penguin. M.K. Raghavendra is a film scholar and a founder editor of a web journal dedicated to debate. He received the national award, the Swarna Kamal, for Best Film Critic. He was awarded a 2-year Homi Bhabha fellowship to research into Indian popular film narrative, as well as a Goethe Institute fellowship to study post-war German cinema. His most recent book, Director's Cut, 50 Major Filmmakers of the Modern Era, came out in June. Siddhartha Bhatia has been in the media for over 3 decades, working as a journalist, television anchor, teacher, and commentator in India and abroad. He writes on politics, foreign affairs, society, and culture. He loves old Hindi and Bollywood films and the city of Mumbai, where he lives with his family. He is the author of 2 books, Cinema Modern, The Navketan Story, and Amar Akbar Anthony, Madness, Masala, and Manmohan Desai. Nasreen Munni Kabir is an India-born television producer based in UK. She is best known for producing an annual season of Indian films for British terrestrial television channel, Channel 4. And moderating this discussion is Dr. Sharmishta Gupta, who has a PhD in history from the University of Chicago. She is the author of Bengali Cinema and Other Nation and has written extensively on Indian cinema. She is a founding trustee of the South Asia Research Foundation, joint editor of the journal South Asia History and Culture, and Routledge South Asia History and Culture book series, and editor of online South Asia Archive. We welcome them.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Since the introductions have already been done, we are going to move straight to the discussion. The title of our panel has changed a bit. It's now Writing on Indian Cinema. And we are basically going to talk about, the current trends in, writing, in Indian cinema writing, and basically the way forward, where this whole body of literature is going, where this whole genre is going. Now, all of us on this panel have written books on Indian cinema, histories, monographs, histories, interview-based books where authors have interviewed famous film personalities, or, dialogue books, for instance, which have reproduced the dialogues of very famous films like Mughal-e-Azam or Awara. So we have at various points written these books, and this whole genre or body of writing on Indian cinema by people who are, not necessarily people associated with the industry, but people who are writers, who study cinema, this whole genre of Indian film writing, it's been a very vibrant genre for more than the last decade and a half, kind of gaining momentum in the mid-90s, and then it's just been growing since. And this genre has been particularly vibrant in the last year and a half or so, because leading up to 2013, when we have marked the 100th year of Indian cinema, when we are celebrating the making of the so-called first Indian full-length feature film by Dadasaheb Phalke in 1913. So it has been a very vibrant genre, and it has produced a range of books. The first question that I would like to put to my panelists is, have you noticed in more recent years this very vibrant genre plateauing out a little bit? Let me explain what I mean. I was very recently talking to a publisher friend of mine who is a publisher based in Delhi, and I met her after some time. So I asked her, okay, so this is the 100th year of Indian cinema. So what have you produced? What interesting new books on cinema have you done? So she said, actually, you'll be surprised. We haven't done much this year, the 100th year of Indian cinema. The people have been asking us, what have you done this year? Well, what we are doing is, we are doing a translated collection of the Urdu poems of Meena Kumari, but that's not strictly, it's not strictly film. So, and the reason is that I've actually done such a lot of film books over the last few years, and so much is actually being done by other publishers that, things are tending to becoming a little repetitive. So I'm actually looking for something more new, something that will make more of a mark, and something that is just not, another repetitive book on the shelf. So I'm going to ask my panelists what they feel about this. Maybe we can start with Nasreen, because Nasreen has actually been one of the first, people in this genre of Indian film writing. She started way back in the, mid-90s. Your first book on Guru Dutt was published in 95 or 96. So Nasreen has been one of the first writers in this field, and she has, published consistently over this period. So I want to ask her what her sense is about what I'm saying.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Sharmista. I would say the first thing to say is that cinema, because it's the art that actually belongs to everyone, and everyone has an opinion about it. So if you ask everyone here or anyone on the street, they have an opinion about their favorite film, their favorite actor, and so on. And in many ways, you should say that when you have so many opinions about something, it is very difficult to write about it, because cinema belongs to everyone. Now, for example, I would find it very, very hard-pressed to be considered serious if I was to suddenly write about economy or suddenly write about architecture. I don't think I would be taken seriously. But cinema writing, unfortunately, has a tendency of anyone, it's a free-for-all. And so therefore, you've got lots of opinions. I would say what you're talking about in terms of plateauing, the interest, of course everyone is writing about film, and there are a lot more books than there used to be. I would say the quality, in my view, is very uneven. And I feel that there are not enough people who are film practitioners who are writing, which is in France, for example, where there's a real development about how to approach a film, how to discuss a film. You find that a lot of those people were in fact either filmmakers or became filmmakers, like you have Truffaut or Godard and so on. But the Indian filmmakers have not been writing about the craft enough. I feel that is a big gap in the writing on cinema in India. What sells are biographies, what sells are books about film stars, and very honestly, I think that there was recently somebody told me Kareena Kapoor has released a book. So, I mean, it is a bit difficult to know how serious the reader is about cinema. But it's still the fact that she's a cinema actress. It's not because she's a guru on diet. It's a connection to cinema. And cinema writing really is often pretty difficult. And because it's so lived, the experience of cinema is so lived and by so many millions, and when you have an audience, you ask everybody in the audience what they think. They'll all have different opinions about the same film or the same event. So you have to actually find a way in between. I think the best possible writing about cinema would be something whereby you are saying something, some new idea about the film, not telling me the story necessarily. And also, for me, always the most important thing in my work has been I wanted to open the door to that film. I wanted people to go and want to watch that film. Or when I wrote about Guru Dutt, I wanted people to know more about Guru Dutt and to appreciate Guru Dutt. It wasn't necessarily pontificating what I thought of Guru Dutt. I wanted to open the doors to certain filmmakers and films. That was my thinking behind my work.
Yeah, so what I'm taking away from what you're saying is, A, the quality is uneven, and that's bound to be in any field where too much is being done. You know?
It's new. It's not that too much is being done. Hollywood had, since 1930s, people writing about cinema. Indian cinema writing has been very uneven. I cannot speak about the regional languages. I don't know enough about them. But if you say in the English language, to be honest, the first book about Indian cinema, which was regarded as serious, was called The History of Indian Film, and it was by an American called Eric Banu.
Yeah, we all know
yes,
about
you
that
know
book,
about
yeah.
that. But that was in 1963.
Yeah.
And if you look at the first edition, which you will see, if you look under the index, you do not find Guru Dutt. So that in itself tells you what, in fact, how serious Indian cinema was being taken. It wasn't.
No, yeah, that's right. And I'm going to pass on to Raghavendra, but I'm not really talking about 1969, but I'm talking about 2013, where there's this boom, you know. Sorry, what? Yeah, well, I'm not talking about that period, but I'm talking about 2013, where there seems to be a lot. There actually seems to be a new book on the shelf almost every month. So that's what I'm talking about. But I'll pass on to Raghavendra for his ideas.
I've paid attention to criticism because I'm a critic, but I would say that there's not been so much of criticism in the public space and in the form of books. See, critics, by and large, there are three categories. Okay, the first category, what you call reviewing, journalistic criticism, is basically a form of appreciation of some sort. It flourishes in the magazines, newspapers. It's meant for cinephiles by and large, and it's basically style. It's kind of an exercise in style. Okay, it is the voice of the critic is very important. So you could say, I mean, if you look at sort of internationally, the big guys, it's insights and style is the basic thing. Now I think one of the most famous was Pauline Kael, who used to write for the New Yorker, right? I'll just give you an example. Now when she writes about a review of a film called Marooned. Right, it's a film Marooned, which has Gregory Peck, David Janssen, and I think Richard Crenna. Now she says, who in his right mind would cast these three people in a movie when everyone knows they're the same person, right? Now the point is, there's an insight here. Okay, there's an insight. It cannot be substantiated, but people who know the personalities of these people, how they appear, will immediately recognize what she's saying. Now, that is one kind of thing. It so happens that so far, when you look at the kind of journalistic criticism within India, there has been no book of criticism, of collected works of a critic. So it seems to be, I mean, a lacuna, some kind of lacuna which is to be addressed. The second category of criticism is called essayistic criticism. It's intellectual, probably closer to Susan Sontag. In India, it would be somebody like Iqbal Masood. If you remember, Iqbal Masood used to do this. Ashish Nandi used to do a bit of it. Sudhir Kakkar used to do a bit of it. Now, this is basically making connections within culture. Okay, this is the thing. Now, this is also hardly any books coming out of this. There's very little coming out of that. The third thing is academic criticism. Now, academic criticism is basically the kind of stuff which is dished out in seminars by and large. They are around a certain, usually it is top down, it is around certain schools. It would be around something like feminism, it would be around cultural studies, it would be around probably psychoanalysis. These would be the thing. There's a huge boom in academic publishing. But what is happening is, by and large, the more intelligible kind of writing is not flourishing as it should. It seems to be, by and large, see, the problem with top-down criticism is you take psychoanalysis and you apply it to Indian cinema, right? There is no history of Indian cinema. There is no history of Indian cinema written at all. Okay? As it should be. If you look, for example, at the way Chinese cinema is written about, the way Russian cinema is written about, the third world cinemas, Japanese cinema, basically the fundamental text in an academic, in a body of academic writing is the history of cinema. An academic history. I don't mean nostalgic histories, okay? I mean an academic history of Indian cinema. There isn't any in India. And the point is, there is such a large burgeoning, large shall we, explosion of academic literature, largely anthologies. You know how anthologies are brought out? You organize a seminar and you pay everybody's airfare, and people will come in and everybody will put in a paper, and this paper all assembled in some vague title, given a vague title, and you'll have an anthology. This is the way it's done. Okay? There's nothing in the title to tell you that, that the individual essays pertain to this. This is the way the anthologies are published. And this seems to be the general thing. So I can't be, when considering that you've got such a huge body of literature, if you look at, say, Chinese cinema, you look at Russian cinema, you'll find 3 or 4 titles, 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 important books. In Indian cinema, there must be 20 or 30. But not even one is doing the systematic historical study. They all seem to be doing cultural studies perspective. And they seem to be going more and more into what is called cultural theory. Okay, it's not film theory, cultural theory, as if cinema itself doesn't matter, as if textual analysis is of no use, okay? They don't study the texts. They talk about how cinema, the censor board. One book, I'll tell you, they actually say that one of the most important events around Indian cinema is the protests around Deepa Mehta's fire. Now, how important is that event in the history of Indian cinema, okay? So the thing is, there's a lot of explosion of writing, especially in the academic field. But how useful that is, whether it's really going along, I don't know. Of course, on the other side, it seems to be that people are getting out of the need for rigor. The rigor seems to be astute in some way.
That's precisely what I meant, actually, when I, sorry to interrupt you, when I asked the question that, somewhere there's also a plateauing out of quality, and that's also what you're saying. So I completely agree with you, but please continue.
Yeah, so that's the way it is. So with this new genres which are coming, biographies, for instance, which are coming, filmmakers not. You see, the problem is one of the reasons that filmmakers don't write about cinema is they're not so sure about their own cinema. Fathers don't pass on filmmaking craft to their children. Okay, what Yash Chopra knows, his son doesn't know. What his son knows, his grandson doesn't know. We really don't know what exactly these filmmakers. So it's difficult to write about.
And the other thing is, my little interaction that I've had with film people is, apart from, a cream, they're actually interested in the business of making films, So, as you're saying, I mean, they're not, I don't know if they're that interested in going ahead and writing books.
But the thing is, see, when you have a body of writing with some rigor, with some ability, with some quality, it's natural that there'll be an explosion in books as well, okay? Why these books haven't come out is the best, which is why I think that the thing of biographies and all is a somewhat easier option, is my sense, First of all, Indians don't keep records of their lives, so that there's no way of cross-checking. These biographies are popular biographies, so they don't even fulfill the criteria of what biographies should be. I think I'll stop here.
Okay, Siddharth.
Your question, I think, is very clear. Has there been a plateauing? To which one simple way of looking at it is, as you yourself said, there was an explosion a few years ago. And, publishing houses are bringing out a lot of books, many of them indifferent. They may have found out that quite a few of these, in India, in any case, books don't sell that much, but they may have found out that while everybody out there, every Indian has an opinion on cinema, loves films, but when it comes to actually going to the shop, picking up a book, putting down 500 rupees or whatever, and taking it home is not happening. Plus, the quality was a little uneven. There's one side, there's serious academic work. I'm not an academic. Having been a journalist type of communicator all my life, even I, who love cinema, find it difficult to enter those books sometimes. So the layperson may be finding them. So once that has happened and the sales are not happening, the publishers are merely shifting gears, in my opinion. What I think will come will be, and should come, will be niche books, populist books. There's a book coming out on Gangs of Wasseypur, say, for example, which is a current hit film. Everyone knows about it. It's cool. I've written a book on Amar Akbar Anthony, which I think is a 35-year-old film, and people, I'm hoping, will buy. And the reaction so far has been that this is the kind of stuff we want to read, because it explains how the man actually made the film. So I think those niches will come. One very important thing, I think this is a very important point Raghavendra made, there are no archives. In both my books, I couldn't get one piece of paper from the Navketan studio or from Manmohan Desai's son. Not a piece of paper, I had to go elsewhere. So more and more niches will come. One of the niches I'm expecting and I'm hoping will come will be a little retro, because these books do not have an immediate sale impact. But considering that publishers are sometimes mentally prepared for that, they'll have long-lasting value. Dialogues, the making of a film, trying to understand the director's mind, the craft and all that. And in every film person I have met to interview has told me only one thing. Why am I interested in talking about my work? I'm only interested in making cinema.
See, that's what I said just now, that maybe they are just interested in making films.
No, and if they are interested in A, they think it should be a vanity project, so they want control. Most of us would probably balk at that beyond a point. Or they feel that, that's fine, we'll get it done ourselves. Why do we need anybody else? I mean, I did face that, and I'm sure others have also. But I'm sure over the next few years, as publishers also settle down with an understanding of the market matures, these niche books will start coming out. I think some good writing will come. The pity of it all is that we have taken 100 years to reach here.
I'm going to, in my later round of questions, I'm going to take two keywords from what you just said. One is niche and one is retro, when I ask another round of questions. Bhardwaj.
To answer your question, I don't think there has been a plateauing of quality. I don't think there are enough books about Indian cinema, frankly speaking, because we're talking about French cinema or American cinema. They've been writing about their cinema since the 20s, 30s, 40s. If you look at Eisenstein's books, they go back to the 20s, and all the Pudovkin books about editing and things like that. So
actually, I'm just going to interrupt you for a minute. Indians have also been writing about their cinema since the 20s.
Not to this level.
Well, that's comparative.
Your point was volume. I'm talking about this kind of volume. It did not exist then. We may have been writing, Chidananda Dasgupta was writing also. I'm not saying nobody
No,
was
much before Chidananda. I mean, people were writing, the first Bengali volumes on, that's the history I know best. The first Bengali volumes were published just as Indian cinema was moving from silent to talkies. The first two volumes, and one of these volumes, which I discovered, it's by Bibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay, who's otherwise known as the very famous author of Pather Panchali, which Ray made. It's an absolutely unknown volume, because I found it in the British Library quite by accident, and I'm the only person to have used it. So Indians were actually writing, way back then, and they started writing way back then. There was a lot of discourse on cinema, and this is what I was talking to someone about, that people were actually talking about the whole technical aspect of cinema, not just, cinema. Okay. So it might be comparative. So, yeah, you can continue.
No, my point was simply that, yes, it's not that we started writing now. It's just that the volumes that you're talking about are happening only now because the publishers themselves are actively commissioning a lot of books. It's not just the odd filmmaker who comes and says, let me just do this. Second thing, I was just saying that writing about cinema and making a film are two mutually exclusive things. Like Nasreen Muni Kabir said, just because Godard and Truffaut they were journalists first, they were active journalists first, and they absorbed cinema. And they went on to make films. Yes, we have a lot of people who found a middle ground between making and writing about cinema. But very often, cinema is something that is instinctively done. There is a lot of instinct that goes into it. So it takes somebody on the outside to go into that world, to kind of harness the universe of that film into specific questions and then put those questions to the filmmaker and say, okay, boss, you did this. What was this really about? You did this. What is this really about? Because these are not things that are actively on the surface of the person's mind that if somebody wants to write a book, he's immediately going to say, this is what I meant, and this is what I meant, and this is what I meant. That's not going to happen. So the film journalist plays a very active role in, if you want to put it in psychoanalytical terms, and unlocking the filmmaker's mind into giving out certain things. And 3, I don't think there can be enough books, just like, we have love stories all the time, and yet a new love story comes out. And if it's done well, then it's a hit and we all go and watch it. We don't say, oh, another love story has come out, who's going to watch it? That's not the logic that applies. How well has something been made? How much effort has gone into it? How is it contributing to my personal enjoyment? That's all that kind of goes, or even my edification, if you want to put it that way. All those things go into a book. So I would disagree with this publisher friend of yours who says that there's been a plateauing out, who's going to read another book about Amitabh Bachchan. If you give me a good book about Amitabh Bachchan from an angle that's never been explored, of course I will go and read it. So I don't think there's a problem with that at all.
Okay, fine. So most panelists here feel that there is not a plateauing out, and we still have a long way to go. But no one actually addressed my point about the social media aspect of it and how that's overlapping with film writing.
I think what Bharadraj is right is that the social media will never fulfill what he's talking about. He's talking about unlocking someone's mind. And you cannot do that. I don't know how many words are allowed in Twitter, but you cannot unlock someone's mind so quickly unless you're a Japanese poet. So there is a difficulty. And there is a big, big difference between writing about cinema for the here and now. In other words, if you're reviewing for this month, for this week. If you write well, then 30 years from now, someone will quote from your review. But writing about here and now is very different than for writing about somebody's body of work. So, for example, if I was very keen on getting people talking about their own work because I like that idea of being really close to the horse's mouth, let's put it that way. And when I started my book, one book called Talking Films with Javed Akhtar in 1999, I realized that when he spoke, because you prodded him, he's going to give you a lot. Now, Javed Akhtar, and as Bharadraj knows, because he's done a similar book with Mani Ratnam, sir, and you realize they are not going to give you the time to develop a whole biography. But if you sit down and you talk to them, and get proper questions, I am not talking about talking to them and researching. There's a difference between an interview and getting the person to give you all the information. They don't respect you very much. If you go in there having done all your research and you surprise them, they are people, film people are people who give interviews 20 times a month. So if you don't surprise them, you get nothing from them. Nothing whatsoever. So I feel that film people should be allowed their space and respect to actually, that you do the work and write something they haven't heard before. Otherwise, they will be very polite, give you a cup of tea, and you go home. And that's the right place for you to be.
Talking about the social media, one of the problems I think is this blogging, See, one problem about film writing is that there is no concession that there are experts in the field. It's as if cinema is somehow the territory of the layperson, right? And this blogging seems to have really, everybody's opinion is as good as everybody else's opinion. This seems to be. And see, the thing about the earlier thing of the journal, of the newspaper, is that there is some censoring authority, some person who's going to make sure, selecting authority. This should be published, this should not be. But the problem with blogging is everything goes, And the way that intellectual things are addressed, I remember one blog in which they're discussing literature, modernism in literature, right? Who is more important, James Joyce or T.S. Eliot? 8 of them vote for Joyce, 7 of them vote for T.S. Eliot, therefore Joyce wins. I mean, this is the level of the blogging, okay? Now, if it's going to be at this level, and you're going to address things like Joyce and Eliot and modernism in this level, the same thing is happening to cinema, okay? Now, at least I think literature, that you have to make an effort to open a book, actually go through the pages and read it. I think even a cow can watch Tarkovsky. It's no wiser, right? So the point is that the whole problem with cinema is, okay, the whole problem with cinema is anyone can watch cinema, okay? And all he's got to say is, wow, man, wow. All he's got to say, wow. What is the other word? I forget it's some of the kind of, cool, man. So the point is that you show some very highly intellectual film. I mean, there are better films, there is, of course, decline in cinema, I won't go into that. But the whole point is that it can be addressed at different levels. Now, if everything is addressed as this blogging level, okay? You write around things, you don't talk about what it is, okay? My understanding of film criticism is that the film, like any work of art, would reach a peak, say, somewhere. It would reach a peak at some point. The role of the film critic is to build steps to that peak, explain what is this man trying to do. But people write around that. They will simply say that's great. It's like saying this animal is great, but is it a carnivore? Is it a herbivore? Is it an ape? We don't even know. Or is it a fish? The basic point is that animal has to be identified. There has to be more engagement. This entire thing of the blogging space, probably, if there is some thing if everybody starts blogging and giving his opinions, why should anybody's writing specially matter? So this could be a problem.
Well, I'm not a blogger, but I think social media is very new. As a professional journalist, I'm constantly, coping with it. It's easy to dismiss, but digital writing, you were talking about these instant votes, but that's from the user end. As soon as the writer end starts improving and somebody serious comes, etc., so that will perhaps have lasting value. But that's just going to be another way of addressing it. The main issue as far as volume is concerned is the amount of stuff about films, not merely cinema, but films, and the people who are in that industry is being thrown at you on a daily basis. I mean, everything that happens, there's an earthquake somewhere, you need 5 film stars to validate that. So there's amount of information that's been thrown at you. It kind of, that clutter, something new has to keep on coming. And good, serious writing, as and when it comes, and serious does not mean grim, but serious certainly means something, yes, certainly well researched. That rigor is critical, because there was absolutely no point writing a book about a film unless you have talked to 25 people involved in the making of that film, who then gives you that small bit of jigsaw puzzle which gives you the whole picture. So I wouldn't worry too much about social media at this stage, and in any case, 140 characters is nothing more than, as you know, the default tone, I always say the default tone of Twitter is mocking and jokey. So over there we can keep that aside. Facebook also. But even otherwise, print, television, and presumably in the long run, digital, will address cinema in a more intelligent, accessible, and well-rounded 360 way. And I'm very confident, because here am I was writing on politics all my life, and suddenly I offered an idea, and they said, well, nobody's done it, why don't you do it? I got into it, had to meet film stars who I hadn't met before, and it was a challenge, but I was overwhelmed with the kind of reaction it got, and I felt that, yes, if you look at cinema in a particular way, there are readers and there is a market. And without a market, as you know, there's no use. I mean, you need a market.
I have mixed feelings about social media, and I think one distinction that we need to make is that blogs are different from Facebook and Twitter, because blogs offer more space than Facebook and Twitter. I think the good thing about Facebook and Twitter is that they offer you they offer you the avenue, an avenue to get what used to be called word of mouth. Earlier, you used to ask a neighbor or somebody like that, what picture kaisi lagi, something like that, Now you have people like this who, if you're interacting with these people, then these are people from your wavelength, whose opinion you'd probably respect. And very frankly, not everybody needs or wants to read huge reviews which get into all kinds of analysis and everything. So for some people who just want to know, Acha, I got this time, should I go watch this movie or not? There is one category of reviews. If you don't want to call them reviews, then tweets or whatever it is. So that's satisfied there. But that said, the problem becomes the hysteria around a movie, because I find that this is something that's happened only after Facebook and Twitter, is that talking about films has become a lot more excitable, a lot more hysterical. It's either it sucks or it rocks. There's no in between. It's like a movie either has to conform to some impossible standards, otherwise, it's really bad. I find that most movies exist in some kind of middle ground where there are some good things, some bad things, and you kind of have to take the good and kind of talk about it in conjunction with the bad. And with social media, it always becomes, oh, it sucks, the feeling with which you walk away from the film, and that's not always the best way to talk, to discuss a film. So like I said, I have mixed feelings about social media.
Okay, so mixed feelings about social media generally, but no one thinks it's a bad thing essentially. It's good, or it can be good and bad. Now, my next question is that, in the field of Indian cinema writing, much of the writing seems to be on Bombay Hindi cinema or Bollywood, more popularly Bollywood. I hope everyone will agree with that. Now, this question is specifically directed to the two panelists, Bharadwaj and Raghavendra, who have written books on non-Hindi, non-Bombay cinemas. Raghavendra has written a book on Kannada cinema, and Bharadwaj has written an excellent book on conversations with Mani Ratnam. Now, what I want to ask you is, having worked on Bengali cinema myself, I've had mixed feelings about working on non-Hindi, non-Bombay cinema. So what I want to ask you is, when you wrote these books, did you feel in any way a slightly less advantaged than someone writing on maybe Bollywood or Hindi cinema? Because, that's supposed to be the dominant cinema and, viewed by most people, having the greatest authorship, having the greatest viewership, I'm sorry. So did you in any way feel that, oh, well, I'm catering to a smaller market? Did you get that kind of a vibe from your publisher? Or did you alternately, which has also been an experience of mine, feel empowered in such a way, because given that, much of the writing on Indian cinema is Bollywood or Hindi cinema, someone mentioned the word niche and I said I would pick up on niche later. Have you felt that, yes, now, over more recent years, there has been this, a desire to see more niche and more, and Mani Ratnam's not necessarily niche, he's like very all India, but at the same time, so what do you feel about that?
My book on Kannada cinema was an academic book.
Yeah.
So, see, the two things. Firstly, there is not so much academic work done on Kannada cinema. So it gives you, unlike Bollywood, there's a huge amount of writing on Bollywood, sociological writing, political writing, as well as film studies writing. There's hardly anything on Kannada cinema. The disadvantage is that you don't have enough sources to rely on. The advantage is you can make it up. Okay? The point is, your conclusions, it's basically academic writing is, you want to get to that place, you find stepping stones. This is basically it, right? If there are no stepping stones, you're allowed to walk on the grass. Okay, that's the thing. Now, that is one aspect. So in some way, it makes it more difficult, it makes it less difficult at the same time. But more, I think the real problem is the market, okay? It doesn't get too much interest in the press. See, because the media beams from Bombay and Delhi. So whatever happens in Bombay and Delhi would be the centers of India in some way. So whatever a minor event in Bombay is sort of beamed on the rest of India. So all of us would know about minor happenings in Bombay, minor people in Bombay as major people. Major people here will not be known there. So the whole same problem with the books. You write about Kannada cinema, whatever I write, the point is not many people are interested in the book. It's an academic book. It's a publisher with respect to Oxford University Press, a respectable publisher. it'll go to the libraries, it'll go there, but it won't do so well as publicity. It won't get enough publicity. Now, this I think was a basic thing, which means that by and large, and also, there is this problem at least of local language people believing that you should write in the local language. Now, this, nobody asks if I write a book on Hindi cinema, that you should write it in Hindi. Nobody will ask that question, right? You're allowed to write in English. But when you write a book on Kannada cinema and in English, everybody is actually upset that you've written in English and not in Kannada. Why that is so, I don't know. A review, which I got, a very bad review, made this remark that I had not consulted Kannada sources, Kannada things, without telling me exactly what are these things I should have consulted. Okay? Where is the literature? Where are the things which an academic could, this so it became, so this the sense of the local, the sense of the regional to become, claustrophobic thing, it seems to be caught up in itself in some way. You have to talk to them only in their language. When you write in their language, they won't read it. Now, this is the problem, right? Now, these are really, so the thing is, when you write academic stuff, I seriously doubt it. And writing for smaller groups is hazardous, in my opinion. It's dominated by vested interests, okay? It's a problem, So the question is, the larger the group, one of the advantages of English writing is we don't know each other at all. Now, there are so many of us film people, I haven't met one of them before, right? Now, this I think is a great thing, that actually we are all film people, we haven't met each other, we're actually impersonal. Our relationships with each other is completely impersonal. But if you go to a local language thing, for 5 people get onto a platform, they've all met for drinks the previous evening. Now, this becomes a problem, So these is the problem I see about local language cinema.
I don't think that language has anything to do with, let me address this from a writer's viewpoint. From a writer's viewpoint, I don't think language has to do anything with it, because all that matters is whether the person you're writing about or the film you're writing about is interesting and it gives you enough to write about. I think that's the most important thing, it doesn't matter what language it's in. But that said, it becomes a problem from the publisher's side, because they, as we know, the reason there are so many Bollywood books is because publishers commission Bollywood books. They're comfortable with that because they know there's going to be an audience. Whereas with Tamil books or with Kannada books or with any other books, they hesitate to say, okay, I don't mind bringing out this book, but are enough people going to buy them? That becomes a problem, and it's a genuine problem in my opinion, because nobody's in this business for charity. But that said, I also think there is an interesting thing to consider in this. It's also the like he said, there are two things. There are people who have written about Tamil films in Tamil, but those books are not very well known outside of Tamil Nadu. So I think there is some value in writing about a Tamil film personality, but like you said, not that I think Mani Ratnam is exclusively a Tamil film personality, but anyway, the general thing is to get something going outside and to kind of get a dialogue going outside, to get an interest. But that said, the other tricky thing is, now let's say I myself, my career is writing about film, but I would hesitate before picking up a book on, let's say, Oriya cinema. Because I haven't seen enough of Oriya cinema to get an into it. I'll have to educate myself first and then read a book. It's a two-step thing. So for a book about, his book on Amar Akbar Antony, it's going to be much easier for anybody to get into. And maybe, the merits of the book are different, but at least to get into and say, okay, let's give this book a shot. Then a book on regional cinema, simply because in our country, we do not promote regional cinemas that well, and they're not subtitled and they do not reach enough of a population. They all stay in their own little pockets. And beyond that pocket, if you want to write about it and reach a larger audience, it becomes very difficult. So I think that's the other thing that you have to consider when you write about it. So.
Okay, very quickly, questions to the other two panelists who have written on, Bombay-based Hindi cinema. Siddharth, would you like to start? Your book is on Navketan. So how would you set your book apart from, a lot of other stuff? Is it because it's well-researched, accessibly written, but well-researched?
Well, I'd like to think it was very well-researched. But fortunately also, I got a full year of interviews and meetings with Dev Saab, who was, who had a lot of time on his hands, was in that kind of mode. But I think one of the important things of my book was that it was about a studio. And therefore, I don't recall any book. There must be. I know there is somebody written his My Years with Boss about Mr. Vasan and all that kind of thing, but I don't know whether it's about a studio per se. But so that I thought was one very important thing, that here was a studio with the people who worked for it, who stood for something, and I had a thesis, and the thesis was clearly that these people represented a certain idea of modernity, and then I worked towards that. I am, my friends tell me that I live in the past. So I'm very clear that the era, as far as Hindi films are concerned, from the early 40s, mid 40s to mid 70s, is perhaps the golden era. I know that era reasonably well. I know the films, I know what they stand for. More importantly, and because this is the approach I take, I know what India was around that time. And for me, I locate that cinema in that India of the time, pre-independence, post-independence, etc. So I was very, very clear that I would deal with periods. The book on the studio was that. The book on Amar Akbar Anthony is exactly that. And whatever I'm working on, over the next few years is perhaps going to be that. When I stick with that. And I must say, what has interested me is, despite our demographic, a lot of young people, who may or may not know much about India's cinematic history or Indian history, contemporary history, I have taken to and talked to me about my books because they are interested. They are definitely interested. I personally think there's a lot of interest at this moment in the 70s and the 50s. And those are things that, of course, contemporary also, but 50s and 70s Hindi cinema, people are really very interested. Nobody wants to know about the 80s at all. They were a horrible decade all round.
Where do you locate your work in?
Thank you, Sharmisa. I live in London, so what was the connection to India for people who came from India was food, in some cases religion, and in most cases it was the Hindi film song. It was the Hindi film song that bound us to the films. To be honest, I think Hindi film songs is the glue that binds us to the cinema. If you see so many songs from the 50s, nobody cares they cannot tolerate watching the whole film today, but they will listen to the song. It's the music, and I will say the music composers, lyricists, and the playback singers should be the ones who get the most awards in the history of Indian cinema, because they made the cinema. That is the speciality, and that is its strength. I would say my writing and my work has been really, I was crazy about Guru Dutt. So I spent 10 to 13 years researching his life and meeting people again and again and again. I saw like 15 to 20 people, something like 20 times before I did that book. Then I was in the position of doing documentaries, so I was very, very lucky that I would be able to film these people talking. Majroo Saab, Kaifi Saab, Johnny Walker. In that documentary, I will say there are 70% of the people who are now dead, because I made that in 1986. I really feel wretched about the fact that I wasn't alert enough, and I was too young, to start my work in the 60s, because my feeling is the horse has bolted as far as quality is concerned. And I feel the people, I would be dying to see an interview, 3-minute filmed interview with Mehboob Saab or Guru Dutt. There is nothing. There is nothing. And that, I feel, is a big problem. We talk about, you mentioned the fact that the archive isn't there. Even today, how are these interviews going to be seen in 50 years from now? Are you going to see Karan Johar's Coffee with Karan? Are you going to see Simi's program? What is going to be the recollection of today's generation? I am not going to be around. Many of you, I hope, will be. But you will see what level the discussion is happening. It's a mediocre level. It's a chat level. It's the here and now. So my work has always been trying not to do the here and now. And wherever I go, I have to say, this is with great pride, I say it, not so much humility. The minute I'm introduced, they'll say, Guru Dutt. And to me, that's the biggest compliment I can ever receive.
Okay, so good, well-researched histories for both Nasreen and for Siddharth. Okay, we are really running out of time, so one quick rapid fire round. This is supposed to be the 100th year of Indian cinema. How does everyone here feel about this 100-year concept? In other words, again, coming back to the whole aspect of regional versus, dominant Hindi, has there been, has in the popular psyche, has the celebration kind of just centered around Bombay, and has there, not been, there hasn't been much of the other cinemas? Now you can say, oh, it's, well, to be expected, or you can have an issue with it. So quickly, what does everyone feel?
I'll start, so I'll be very quick. I think the real history makers are gone, so I think it's a little late. But anything that people will talk about cinema, excellent.
My general sense is that there's a mismatch between the way Indian cinema is celebrated in India and its acknowledgement outside. I think this mismatch has to be addressed at some point. Because it has to be addressed at some point. That we haven't made much. I'm not saying that we should certainly value our own culture, but we should know what our culture is really all about, right? And you have to address it in language which is in some sense universal language in some way, written about, discourse around that. I'm not so sure because there's a huge amount of hype built up by the publicity apparatus, largely in Bombay and around films, as if they are sort of masterpieces, okay? And when you review them, you get called either AH or to shut the F up. This is the kind of stuff you get.
Clearly.
Yeah, okay, this is a problem. Now, it seems to be sort of cult. There's a certain cult around Indian cinema, specifically certain kinds of cinema. This cult I find a little phony. And especially when this entire thing of, writing only about Indian cinema, not knowing anything about world cinema, I would suspect, I find that quite deeply suspect. As film people, we are basically into cinema and not into Indian cinema. So it's not that Indian cinema is a microcosm of world cinema, it's not, okay? Whereas if you understand world cinema, you'll be able to place Indian cinema. It seems to be that too many people are, not many people are making this effort to place Indian cinema in the international context.
The quick answer is that the 100 years was celebrated in its usual desultory, underwhelming form. A documentary here, a film there, a couple of books, some articles, every reference must have 100 years of, etc. And it's gone, and I'm really glad that it's gone that way, because a massive affair with Bollywood and everyone else involved in it, and perhaps the government also, would have been really awful. So I think we should just take it in our stride and move on without forgetting that no matter how terrible some of what we have produced is, and no matter how ordinary and no matter how mediocre, but the 2.5 hour film with songs in it is a genuine Indian invention. And that is a 20th century invention of an art. There are only 3 or 4 such things one can say, apart from painting, in music, etc. There is jazz, there is perhaps rock music, but this is something we invented, and I don't think we should ever be ashamed of it. We can laugh at it in our own days, but we don't have to go overboard being proud about it, but we should enjoy it.
I want to just add to what Siddharth said. That's exactly what I was going to say, that we may not be terribly happy about what we make, but the fact that an indigenous cinema like this, which is based on the epics and polarities between good and bad and things like that, has survived for so long and is still so popular among the people is quite amazing. And I don't think there's any harm in sitting down for 5 minutes and saying, ha, that's a good thing. So, I don't think that's terribly wrong. Of course, it would be wrong to rest on those laurels, but it's a good thing, I feel.
No, I agree with you. Where did our generation learn to protest? From the Hindi movies, So that kind of thing. So, okay, we've heard everyone's views. Now we'll just open it for 5 minutes to the audience for any questions.
Very good afternoon. It was a really fruitful discussion that we had over here. I had 2 points with regard to what all of you said. I think Mr. Bhatia spoke about this market for books and films about books about films. So before we talk about that, we need to address the problem of developing this market. Like most people, they watch films, they don't know how to read a film. Like a lot of, I think most educative institutions should keep that into mind. And even the reviews that are written, they're very mediocre because mediocre people will read it. I mean, there is no intelligent, like there is very little intelligent talk going on about it. And that's something that we really need to develop. And apart from that, all the books that have been written about cinema, there is a bias over there as well. Either they are all about techniques and history of cinema, or they are interviews with very great film stars. There is, at least in my opinion, there is very little written about aesthetics of cinema and cinematics. So maybe we should, even that should be, that should be incorporated in books as well, written about cinema.
If I could just briefly say that actually it's very difficult what you're saying, because even in the West, because I do live in London, there is a very small readership for film theory, extremely small. When everyone was talking about the fact that Hindi cinema dominates everything in India, don't forget Hollywood dominates everything. In world cinema, if you go to a publisher and you say, I want to write a book about Robert Bresson, they're going to say, you mean Luc Besson? So the whole generation has changed, and they will not take you terribly seriously. If you write about Spielberg, you are more likely to get a publisher. So please take heart in the fact that the regional cinema here is like world cinema outside, because Hollywood has put their stamp on everything, and Hollywood dominates. But you have to first have the interest before the film theory. Otherwise, you have lone people like Henri Bazin, who you might have read or not read. He had a small group of followers who were filmmakers and film journalists. You ask somebody, a taxi driver in Paris, have you ever heard of Bazin? He hasn't. So if you are happy that this film theorist is not going to be a populist guy interviewed every week on television, there are people. I feel Sohini Ghosh at Jamia, I like her work very, very much. She's excellent. She's very communicative. She makes you interested in the film, and she also gives you theory. So there is work. So we mustn't say that there is no work, but they are not celebrities, which thank God they're not.
You know, this audience is rather restless, so I'll be very quick with my questions. For the first one is for Bharadwaj. Your point about Oriya cinema, you know, you need an in to write. The best-known sports book is C.L.R. James, Beyond the Boundary, most read, most used in the United States. You need not know cricket to read James or use James. Second question to Raghavendra, your point about blogging. What's your problem if somebody writes? Let the reader discern. Why are you so concerned? Is it discomforting for somebody like you? I mean, the reader knows what is good and what is bad. If yours is good, let the reader decide.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Is if the book is well written enough, any book is interesting. This doesn't have to be about any particular cinema. Where I was going was just that, given the time we have today and the fact that there are 50 books already waiting to be read, I would probably read a book that kind of already have an into. I did mention when I spoke about the issue that I need to educate myself a little bit about it before getting into it. So if it's a very theoretical book or something like that, I would need to know a little bit about it before getting into it. It depends also. Supposing it's a primer on Oriya cinema, for instance, or something that explains things to me in a fairly, in a fairly easy way, that's fine. But if it's something I need to get deeper into, then I would say I need to get. That's all I was trying to say. Nothing more than that. So.
See, the problem, my issue is very simply this. About say 100 years ago, 50 years ago, let's just how critical opinion emerged, right? Now, critical opinion emerged at some point because of the intervention of the expert in some way. Okay, there were certain, shall we say, there was a certain critical discourse, and there were certain people recognized as experts, and they didn't come out anyway. They made their way in some way. Okay, in some way through the thing of intellectual discourse in the society itself. My issue is with the democratization of critical opinion. This is my problem, right? It seems to be that with democratization of critical opinion, I don't see how it can be avoided. There's no way. I mean, blogging has come to stay. There's no way at all. But it seems to be that once the critical opinion itself is democratized, and there's no argument. See, there's no hierarchy of critics, but there's a hierarchy of arguments, okay, which is a completely different thing. Now, the point is when arguments don't rub each other, they don't interact with each other on a single platform. They don't interact with each other, and arguments have resolved in some way, that this plurality of platforms, the infinite number of platforms, it becomes very difficult for, shall we say, two arguments to engage with each other, right? So they have to engage with each other. Now, this entire thing of blogging is that arguments don't engage with each other. Now, that is my basic problem.
Okay, last question. Did you have one? Yes, please.
Yeah, my question is to Mr. Bharadwaj Rangan. Sir, you've written a book about the body of work of a filmmaker. And if that filmmaker is an active filmmaker and is going to make another movie, and you're going to review that movie, does it influence your review in any way that that filmmaker was part of your book?
I would think so. But I've also, throughout my career, I've stressed the fact that I don't think reviewing is an objective act at all. It is a very subjective process.
No.
And
No, the thing I'm telling is, do you try to sugarcoat your review in any way?
No, I actually, when Cuddle came out, I did not review it for the paper at all. I just did a review for my blog, and I thought that was fair enough, a kind of a distancing that I did. But otherwise, I didn't have a problem with with the process of. I mean, I don't find there is any reason for me not to involve myself with this film or not. And no, to use your word, I hope I don't sugarcoat. But yeah, but you have to understand that my response to the film may have been different from yours. So it does not necessarily have to be because of the fact that I wrote the book or did not write the book. So
Precisely. No, we'll just have to stop because you can ask your last question.
Hello to all. I think it was a very interesting discussion. My question is on the subject that maybe Indian writing today, or rather non-Hindi writing today, is less advantaged. To which I think yes, that's true. That probably maybe because there hasn't been much support in publicizing regional cinema from the National Film Federation or even the Regional Film Federation. Because if you see Indian Film Awards, again happens to be a Bollywood film award and not an Indian. There is no regional cinema representation that way. Or if you see Oscar nominees being sent, a movie like Ekalavya goes. I mean, what is your take on that? I mean, don't you think there has to be enough support from the Film Federation as well? And
I agree with you, but remember one thing. Films really belong to people. And in no other country, maybe in China, do the government have anything to say about cinema? So that actually I don't think we should get the government having anything to say. One correction is that this year's film going to the Oscars is a Gujarati film. So it is not true that it's only Hindi films. It's not really true. But obviously the Hindi film lobby is very big because they're very powerful. But the government, I don't see why the government should be interfering. They never do in France. They don't tell Cannes which films to have.
See, the National Film Awards always goes to regional films. So it seems
Thankfully.
it seems to be that the state is acknowledging non-Hindi films by and large. So it's more the commercial thing where they seem to disadvantage when it comes to awards, when it comes to recognition at that level, art cinema kind of thing. The regional cinema gets acknowledgement.
Okay, so we must really wrap up now. Thank you all the panelists for a very stimulating discussion and the audience for your questions and participation. If you are a film enthusiast, you might like to take a look at a film exhibition which is back that side. It's an exhibition of rare film memorabilia which you might like to take a look at. Thank you, everyone.